Name again?
Pavel.
Pavel. Years?
A full 37.
37. Pavel, did you sign the contract voluntarily?
Yes.
What about the purpose of signing the contract?
I was... Well, the backstory. I'm a former military man, then I was imprisoned, and already from the colony I signed the contract.
I understand. What is the goal?
The goal, as they say, is everything together, as you asked me. First of all, money. Of course, yes. There is never enough money.
So?
To gain freedom, and how at that moment it seemed to me that I was doing the right thing. The fact that I'm going to help, yes, they call us now liberators, well, with swearing. Do you understand?
Well, I understood. Of course, everyone understood.
Later, when I was already captured, I realized everything and saw that everything was somehow different.
So, when you signed the contract, did you really think that you would be freeing someone from something?
Yes.
Seriously?
Yes. The Russian-speaking population here, they say, is fleeing the oppression of the Ukrainians. They're
Who?
Bandera supporters.
Bandera followers? Look, I'm going to completely break your world right now.
I understand.
Look, I'm a Bandera follower.
No.
Yes. What language am I speaking to you now?
In Russian.
And this is possible at the same time.
Well, yes.
That's it. Life will never be the same again. In Ukraine, you can generally walk around freely in any language if necessary.
I noticed.
Yes?
With us, when we were, they say, under surveillance by the military, everyone speaks to us purely in Russian.
It depends on the specific people who specifically speak that language which is more convenient for them to speak. That's it. The whole language problem for you. Through official structures, shops, service sector, television, radio and everything else, yeah, that's true, we speak Ukrainian, but it doesn't really bother anyone. Simply because the Ukrainian translation of films is of much higher quality than the Russian one. Well, that's just in case. You have to feel it. You can't understand it that way. In short, it's clear I understand your goals. When to defend Russian speakers from the oppressions of Banderitist crazy stuff. Well, okay, at some point you will apparently went crazy and saw that this could really be the case. Also, you don't seem stupid men.
Thank you.
Well, how do they do this to you?
I made a mistake. Good propaganda.
In what year and months did you sign the contract?
October 21st, 2023.
Oh, so you fought for a long time.
Not really. I suffered with my leg for a very long time.
Tell me everything that happened to you after signing the contract.
Well, I signed a contract at, they say, VK5, Samara region. They didn't take us right away, about a month passed. Then by wagon to the plane, Rostov. From Rostov to the LPR, and from the LPR to Donetsk. Training, nothing interesting, as they say. There are stances or whatnot, storming trenches, buildings, a little work there with drones, mainly evacuation, delivery of ammunition, all on foot, not in vehicles. Well, and then the first day they say combat days began. It's already the beginning of 2024, the end of January, they sent into the fortification. I don't know the specific area, I remember that it was called Vadyanka.
Well, what about the direction?
Well, it's still the same Pokrovskaya. Nearby there was Pervomayka, first, second, and further on Karlovka. Well, the task there was to stand on a fort. At the time, your troops were still on the offensive, as they say. This continued for about 2 months. And at the end of March, I was sent to the second Pervomaika, where fighting and assault were taking place. Well, so I was transferred to another company and sent to the South Armada.
What kind of units this are anyway?
Units of the Somali Special Operations Battalion.
Well, basically they assigned you to the Somalia and sent you on ass out. Why that, by the way? That at the point where you were, no one else needed to be? Or are people simply running out?
People started to run out, that's the right word. I wouldn't say that everyone died there, but there were many wounded. Then in 2024, FPV drones began to operate very actively.
Oh, well, people leave the ranks not only as a result of death, but also as a result of injuries.
Yes. It turns out that the bullet wound wears off quickly, as they say, and the shrapnel, it flies and flies randomly. A bunch of fragments fly in one direction, and what is their speed, what is their shape, how are they turned inside out, it might fly into your hand and end up on the other side in your lung.
So I understand that something flew into you.
Yes.
Well, let's get to that.
This is exactly the first mission, literally the first day there, and I was wounded.
What were you doing? Where were you going? What was the task?
The task was pass the first Pervomaika, enter the second Pervomaika, and on command to assemble a group of some people, well, from those who are most likely to arrive and storm the school. But I didn't get there, and few people did.
How many of you were there?
There were 8 of us, we split into pairs. Well, there were 2 threes, and we were the last 2. We were the last ones. It's nothing special. We came in, there was a team, every 10-15 minutes we moved out. They told us about the situation in the sky, and we were the last ones out. Everything was moving normally, we were about halfway there. Somewhere there were drones, which were reconnaissance or with a drop. We flew by, we hide, they say, behind the ruins. Well, everything seemed to be fine. We asked the elder, there was Pacha who died. It seems he was from the DPR, from Somalia. He said that it's right there, just a little bit, and that's it. That'll be the point. There is a senior officer at the point. I'll remember his call sign now. I think his name was Balamut. Well, that was his call sign. He says that the main landmark there is that the building is dismantled and made of slabs. Well, we went out there and shouted Balamut, Balamut, but there was no one there. Anyway, we were going in the wrong direction. The drones were guiding us, and they also forgot to tell us that our drones were going to charge. And at that moment, when our drone flew away, yours flows up with the drop. And we were just standing next to this building, they're hiding, we shouted Balamut, Balamut. In the end, they said over the radio, you come to the wrong place, you need to go further. I say, what about the drone? Won't you take us further? He says, our drone went to charge, our drones are not in the air. I say, how could it not? And I raise my head, and he's already taken aim. And the guy and I are standing here, and he says our drone is gone. And as soon as he says no, I see the grenade come and fasten it from the drone. It was Wog. Well, in the end, my, they say, brother ran straight down the road. I made the decision that I needed to dive into a ditch. Well, they say into the lowlands. Well, it's hard to do it with backpack, of course. There's a standard set in the backpack, a power bank to go bag, food, drinks, and all that stuff. Well, I started trying to jump, but it took long, the distance. It took an extra step. I should have jumped earlier. So I jumped, and in the mid-flight, a piece of shrapnel hit my leg in the area of the hip joint. At that moment, well, I had this belt hanging there, a so-called belt with a grenade launcher. I guess I was lucky or unlucky, I don't know, it's up to each person to say. A fragment flew between the grenades and stuck. And the belt, one might say, stopped this fragment. My hip joint would have been shattered, and I would have stayed there almost likely forever. Well, basically, I survived, and that's it. In short, we had to reach this very point from about midday until evening, where the dismantled slabs and this very Balamut drones were used to assault there, but they just didn't have time for us. Well, it was hard for us to walk. It turned out that my friend was shell-shocked. He had a shrapnel in his neck and a shattered bone in his hand. There was shrapnel in his thigh and large shrapnel in his ankle that shattered the bone. Well, somehow, barely in short, well, we got to the point and then we reported. Well, basically a day later we were only informed that we could roll back. Well, and so to continue we rolled back on our own without transport. Well, that's it. My first assault is over.
And then?
And then we arrived at the point. We were examined by a doctor directly at the point where we started. They cursed us out of for losing our radios and backpacks with supplies.
Yes, indeed. Scumbags.
Well, we got off lightly, as they say. They scolded us for taking the plates of our bulletproof vests.
That's it, actually.
Everything is accounted for. Well, that's all, and then they sent me to the hospital.
You could lose your head but bring back the plates. So that's
Yes.
how it works.
That's right. Give me back the armor and die yourself. Something like that. Well, anyway, at least they sent us to the hospital, where they examined us. We examined it, drove at night, so on the night of April 1st we were hospitalized and we stayed in the hospital. Well, I definitely stayed for a month and a half, until about mid-May. Then they discharged me and said there was no way to remove the fragment. I had gone further somewhere. It was somewhere in the area of the hip, pelvis and thigh, but went into the groin area.
So what about the money? Did you receive that was supposed to come? 2 million?
After 5 months, 3 million arrived.
3 million?
Yes.
That's it? Cool? Got
Yes.
rich?
That kind of thing, yes. Got rich, but didn't get rich.
Explain.
Oh, well, when you're somehow away from home and when you can't manage that money. Well, of course I don't know whether I spend them wisely or not.
What do you mean you've already spent 3 million?
Well, how did I spend it? No, I bought an apartment,
Uh-huh.
renovated it, and
That's it? You see?
some of it remained.
You see? Should we somehow pay attention to the fact that in principle you might never have seen this apartment? And in general you still have no guarantee that you will see it.
Yeah, there is truth in what you say.
So is it worth it or not?
If only I knew. It's not worth it.
Okay, let's get back to the story and move on. Well, you recovered.
I got better, yes, and started going on duty. I stood in for the checkpoint on the night shift, then the assistant on duty and the checkpoint. I kept waiting for my year to end and for them to send me home.
And now the year should have ended already.
Yes. They're not taking me to the medical commission. It's quiet as in a tank.
Listen, hadn't you realized by that point that you had no time limits? Well, that means that a year is not a year at
There was
all.
a draft before us, and I was loyal to that because they were released, yes.
Okay, fine.
Here's why. But this is exactly 2024, and because of this...
Well, that's just a huge rarity from what I know.
Well, yes, if you're not dead. That's what I'm saying. It's 2024. I'm going to work. Everything stays there for literally a couple of months. I still limp with my leg won't heal, there's no rehabilitation. Well, it's the same story that I met this paja who lead us there, and he just says something like, I tell him, well, like, you're like a platoon commander there. I tell him, there are 2 months left, when do I have to write a report about the end of the contract? And he said, guys, what are you talking about? What end of the contract? There was an order issued, something like automatic contract renewal. I say, how can this be? The contract has been signed, it's a document from the Ministry of Defense for a year.
Were there any small captions there by any chance?
No, I'm not for the first, well, I don't remember that.
Well, did you serve before this?
Served, yes.
Well, you know what and how, right?
Yes, of course. I say there's nothing there, I say how and what basis. This is a violation even of the labor code of our Russian Federation. And he said, oh, what are you talking about? Well, that's all there is to it out of detection, because others who don't know will start listening and panic will set in. In short, he avoided the conversation and ran away, and I never saw him again.
And you didn't talk about this among your friends?
I did.
Yeah, I think I'm starting to get it. Okay.
Also, yes. Do you
Well,
understand?
sort of.
Yes.
Nothing complicated.
Yes. As clear as the day.
Are you an officer?
No. No, I'm not an officer.
Not an officer.
No.
Let's go back to what you were imprisoned for.
Bad article. Bad article.
Bad article? Raped?
Not raped, but that's what it's called. Article 135, Part 2. This is indecent action. Now I'll remember what it's called correctly. Indecent acts towards a minor.
Indecent provision of a minor.
Yes.
To put it
yes.
simply.
Yes.
They probably assigned you to a special section of the prison.
No.
No?
No.
Or is this no longer the case?
Yes, why not? Yes. Well, this article is popular now. They explained to me in the pretrial detention center. I drew up and in shock explained that my neighbor had put me in jail, slandered me, so to speak. And when I spoke with my cellmates, they explained to me that this is article that they say is very popular. For this, she received an increase in shoulder straps and bonus, and a lot of people come in and pee at
What
the
year
bus
was
stop.
it when you were closed?
This is the 2021.
Oh, well, 2021, that doesn't fit into the general concept yet, because now basically you can be locked up for anything just to send them off to war. But you don't fit into this concept. I just don't really understand how it can be discussed in this sense. And, well, about the examinations and the evidence.
On the phone, like correspondence with the girl. And I say that it's the mother and nothing. We checked, we're living there. Well, it's a very long story. If I started telling it from the very beginning, it would take a long time.
No, well, have you been texting this girl?
I argued that the way to say it correctly, from the way she wrote, it couldn't have been a 12-year-old girl. She was very grown up there, and they say...
So there was correspondence, but you didn't realize it was a 12-year-old
They
girl?
introduced themselves to me as 12-year-old girl. But the essence of the questions that were asked by me, both regarding taking photographs and on other topics, they weren't of the right format for a girl to do it herself. Either under duress, they say, either she was talked into it. Well, because she still is autistic person with cerebral palsy. There I say is a very long history. Neighbor communal apartment, there is a very long history there. I say if I tell you everything, I need to tell it in order and from the very beginning.
No, well, I just want to understand the sense. Did you understand that you were corresponding with a young girl or not?
At first it seemed like yes, but then no. I had doubt that I was corresponding with a minor girl.
But these were correspondence of a sexual nature, as I understand it.
And then something, yes, we came up with this topic.
Did she send you photos?
Yes, I didn't send anything.
Okay, but from the photos she sent you, you didn't see that it was a girl?
No, they was blurry and of pure quality. And then when the examination took place, they allegedly took something from my phone that was already completely visible and normal. that there is a face there, but in my photographs there was no face. There were photographs without a face. Well, generally speaking,
Okay, so how many years did they give you?
4 years. Because first of all, they say what she wrote did not pass. It was not provable there because there was a little material. But she got mad because I was walking around, that they say free without any travel restrictions. And she wrote a second statement. And literally on New Year's Eve they came and packed me up, and that was it.
So these are your neighbors?
Yes.
Mother and daughter. Did you know them that way? Did you cross paths
I
visually,
was
say
in
hello?
an intimate relationship, so to speak, with the mother of the girl.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
You're quite the naughty boy, I see. You have an intimate relationship with her mother and correspond with her
So
daughter.
I say then I broke up with her. Yes.
With mom.
There were problems with alcohol. I didn't have any contact with them anymore. They did nasty things to me, but I didn't seem to pay any attention
And
to
her
it.
daughter started writing to you.
I'm saying I'm sure her mother wrote
Well, I
it.
understand you're sure it's mom, and you, understood from the very beginning that this was such a... No, you didn't understand if you understood...
At first, not. At first I tried to figure it out. And then I was already 1000% sure that it was just a trick, a catch. I wanted to approach her with this question later, but there... And when the criminal investigation major simply told me what she could have photographed herself, your neighbor like that, had daughter and sent you, just write a statement and they would come, see your photo and nothing would save you. It's just that even she wouldn't have had any problems, you
So
would have
let's
been in
return
prison
once again
anyway.
to the story.
Okay, I'm a little lost already. Now, well, I'm already going to Ukraine. Yes. Well, before that, there was a training ground where they sort of tried to prepare me, where I kept claiming that my leg wasn't working and that this and that. At first, I was not assigned to not combat ready, but no one cared. They sent me to training, injured my leg, and was admitted to hospital again with a cracked kneecap. Then they discharged me, and I had a violation for about a week, a little over 2 weeks. Well, so that I wouldn't have any documents in my hands, so that I wouldn't send them more again. Well, that's it. They brought into the camp. I only had time to buy armor, a helmet, and some accessories. There are grenade launchers, a watch, a knife, and that's all. I arrived 2 days later. They gave me a machine gun, and that's when I went to Ukraine. It's October when my contract has already ended.
Well,
While I was sitting there, they saw that I was lame and thought about what to do with me. They asked if I had a license. I said I didn't. They speak badly, which means you will go on foot to storm. In general, while I was sitting there until the last one turned out to be, well, of those who exist, they said, okay, there are 6 of you, get ready. And go. Sorry for swearing.
That's... Okay, the main thing
They
is not to
sent
do
me
it
to
often.
Sukurina on foot. Well, there you only had to limp for 2 kilometers through the fields. It was fine. Well,
Whoa.
I went there limping. How they didn't kill us, I don't know. We passed through something for his belt, so far everything seemed to be fine. Well, and then your drone burned us. Well, that's all, and then onwards across an open field. How they didn't kill us, I don't know. The mortar ensured the 120's yours hit. It laid down really well. Well, even with my sore leg, I could barely keep up. It was an exercise. You walk and you just fall on your face. I couldn't bend over with my leg.
So,
Somehow, I don't know, by some miracle, but all 6 of us made it. No one was wounded or killed. We found ourselves in Sukurina.
marvelous.
Yes. We arrived at the point, set it out 2 days, and they drove us further.
So,
We reached the end of Sukurina. There was some kind of poultry farm there. I didn't go any further. I simply refused because I couldn't walk anymore. I had already taken off my backpack because my leg stopped working. Well, in short, it switched off at the knee. Well, that's all. Then the guide who took us. He took me to another point. There I met, as they say, a familiar serviceman who was at that point supposedly the senior one. Well, he said that he would tell me and try to help since he knows about my problem. Then everything becomes complicated. Then I came to the point. This soldier said for me that I had problems with my leg and I couldn't go any further. They left me with him at the point. Then he left this point and I remained there as the eldest. The one who had to receive by radio was those who were returning wounded. Just to examine at least that, because I more or less understood something about medicine. I didn't stay there long anyway. Then in short I was transferred from this point. It turned out to be disloyal. I was sent back to the point where Sukurina was at the beginning. I arrived and there was no one there anymore. Well, the further instruction was to simply collect the ammunition. Well, in short, cartridges, explosives, everything that is there. It was necessary to collect it, prepared for evacuation, in short. That's what I was doing. In general, I ended up not in the stormtroopers, but in the so-called rigging group, which is engaged in deliveries and so on. Well, overall, I stayed there for about 2 weeks, I guess. I also climbed into other houses, collected. There's also some ammunition there. Well, then we got in touch, a car arrived and everything was evacuated to Ukrainsk. Then it seems there is a shortage of
The question of
people
when
again.
you would be demobilized had already been resolved by that time.
Yes. Only later did the noise in my head go away, probably a little bit. Because maybe it's calmer, they're not dragging me anywhere to the slaughter.
5 minutes to finish this heart-rending story. You've been fighting for a really long
That's
time.
a very long time.
Everyone is starting to get tired of it.
Well, it's been 1 year and 4 months and I'm telling you this.
Well, let's move on.
Well, I provided. I was responsible for this whole topic, then I was fired at the end of December. They sent me to another location.
Well done. You will become a medic.
That's it, I wasn't a medic for a very long time. I treated the guys who were there. They mostly suffered from bronchitis, because in the basements all the time. Well, I treated them, and then there was an order to move forward, Solnsovka, collect the dead. And so from January 6th to the 20th, I don't remember which, well, the end of January, the 25th somewhere, they collected the corpses of our people. 31, as far as I remember. The rest may have already been collected. Your guys were there too, of course, but very few. I saw about 4 people for sure. Our people also collected them later.
Unfortunately, this is the ratio of losses. Very approximate, of course,
I'm generally
but...
very sorry for all the losses. Well, in general, we collected them, then the order was to take them to the point. We evacuated them to the point, our dead. They evacuated them themselves, and then they were evacuated. We arrived, and the elder told us that, like you're limping with your leg, someone had ribs due to medical reasons. In short, I tried to tell us that they were sending us straight away to storm it. He said there's a chance you can go and try. Well, we need to ask the doctors for loyalty so that they can see it. Well, anyway, we went to the doctors. It was Saturday, the doctor on duty examined us. In general, I wrote out some papers and saw that there was a problem, but it didn't help. And that's it, and we were returned back again to this Ukrainsk. Armor, helmets, rifles, and off we go to 3 points. The third one was the last one, just when they took me prisoner. The first one was Slavyanka. A group of 8 people arrived in pairs and reached some road. They were supposed to consolidate their position further, but they didn't, and half of the group was scattered. Some died, some were wounded.
Drones?
Artillery, drones, and as I understand it, it seemed like we met with yours, that's it. Well, it seems like nothing is clear there. It seems like they met with yours or with ours and shot at each other. The weather was foggy, to put it briefly. We occupied a point, sat there for about a week. The weather was clear and we never left there. It was impossible to restore connection because this point was under control all the time. In short, a week later, the Allies burned this point and began to dismantle it with FPV drones. They destroyed the dugout there, and we urgently left that point. Well, beside us and the 4 other who were going there were 4 more wounded. We also evacuated them from there, and they say safely, that's it. Then we were all evacuated again, and they were partially divided into groups again and sent to attack again. Next was an incomprehensible forest belt. We had to storm the artillery dugout. Well, we arrived there, the car was destroyed, they say at the beginning of the assault. My radio was turned off, 2 people were dead. I didn't turn on the radio because he was, well, I think he was moderately concussed. There was no blood coming from the ears, but my head was having trouble thinking. The 3 of us were wounded by a small attack. We jumped out in time to catch some loaf of bread passing by there, which was going with us to the south. Well, and then they accused us of the fact that the guys survived in the car which was traveling with us, and they went on the south, and we didn't support them, and we are to blame for their deaths. I'm saying they died. And they say to me, are you convinced? I'm saying that the car was already on fire. In general, the medic examined us. They called us ours. Yes, that you will go on the south. And they don't care whether there are minor wounds or not, and that's the topic. Well, then the last assault happened. They put us on a car. There are 2 of us left because the 3rd one was rejected. He has a fragment under his knee. Gave us people from another unit, well, completely from us from another unit. We belonged to only 1 brigade. Well, they explained the following problem. Again, there are villages, and from the village there are forest belts, and we have to clear the dugouts there. The task looked like this. The 2 of us who remained alive must go forward. And when we find an enemy, we have to call the deuce there. Well, I know why it's done. We had to go. If we run into trouble, they would just kill us. And the second 2 who remain alive in front of our people that there is an enemy there. Well, things didn't go according to plan when we entered these villages. Dumpers, explosions, flat tires. The car almost got there. We landed and the drone started shooting at us. 1 is wounded, not from our group, they say, but from my unit. We give it to the point together with the driver. He says, well, the 3 of you move on. And so the 3 of us went into the forest belt. And in the forest belt, well, things went wrong somehow. Well, not like we were told where each of you should sit approximately. Everything was empty, and that point, that's exactly where the unknown information is. At first they told us that there was no one there, and we moved on, and when we were already approaching there, they told us that they were yours, only in bad language. I say, how much? Answered me, 3 or 4, don't be afraid, they're intimidated. It's normal there. They say throw a couple of grenades, shout for them to surrender, and they will surrender. They gave up, of course. They gave up. Well, this guy was walking in front, the one from another unit, the second one was limping, an old man was behind us. Well, that's how it is. In fact, it was the one from our unit who was also wounded in the leg. So we approached, they told us the distance, we listened. Anyway, when we were already approaching, this idiot started yelling into the radio, we lost Grandpa. I'm thinking, what the hell, Grandpa? That's it. That's the point, why he yelling? He says Grandpa faster, and that's it. We take a couple more steps. Well, that's all for now, we've got our bearings. By the time I reached into my pocket, it was almost about to take out a grenade, and that was it, just fire immediately. Here you go, and the fire begins. Your fighter started shooting there from the embrasure with a Kalashnikov 47, which is 7.62 caliber. The guy who was walking in front, well, of course, he wasn't killed right away. He managed to turn towards me, said my call sign, Pioneer shot, and fell silent. I'm in shock here. I jumped back on my healthy leg and went to the left. I almost, well, flew there inside the loophole. I fell into a nearby crater, well, a mount of earth. That's it, I look and can't understand what's going on here anymore. And it seems like on a drone or your fighters is shining from the embrasure. Well, light, I remember that. And, when I jumped and shot my machine gun and jammed completely. Well, because it's, insidersly, while we were going around all the points and shooting at them, everything was rusting. Sure, there was gunpowder, smoke, and rust. Everything just stood still. Well, that's all. They shouted at us there. Who are you? I said, Russians. Then I started swearing. What are you doing here? I said, you came to storm. And then it dawns on me that we are now let's storm. And I started yelling that we were giving up. The question was, how many of you are there? I say, well, there were 3, they are lying there, and I don't know who is alive and who is not. Then he called out like, well, I don't remember exactly how it was. Guys, it seemed like he was shouting already in Ukrainian. As before that, he communicated in Russian. Well, 3 of them came out, men, so to speak, military men. They looked at me, lifted me up, and examined the machine gun. Well, I showed them that I was stuck, fastened the magazine, and threw it on the ground. They asked what other weapons he had on him. He said 3 grenades on himself in a backpack. They said, carefully, with 2 fingers, come on, take it out. If you make an extra move, we'll kill you.
Well, that's understandable.
They said, well, you understand, right? I said, yes, I understand everything. Well, carefully with his left hand, then with his right, he took the knife and threw it at his feet. In general, they checked the first one, he was dead. They checked the grandfather, he was shot in the shoulder. That's how it is, in general.
So his grandfather is still alive?
Yes, he has remained alive.
Then this, the one who came with you yesterday, the same one?
No.
If not that one, that it's different story. Yeah, got it. I have this. What can I say? You're lucky. That's it. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Once again, I'm sorry, I don't know what to say anymore. Nothing depends on me. I'm fool who signed the contract.
No need.
That would have
Here you
been
know, the
better
worst thing
in
you
prison.
just said in our entire video was just, now, nothing depends on me. Now, perhaps nothing depends on you. But the moment when you signed the contract really depended on it.
Yes.
And it depends on everyone. And everyone said that they forced me, they gave me a term here, they gave me this, they gave me that.
I signed it myself.
Well, then serve your time. Why go and kill people? If only a couple of tens of thousands had sat down in 2022 and said no, I would like to see how they would all be put in jail there. If they hadn't put in jail, there would have been a backlash. It wouldn't have been possible, you understand? They would understand that people are not cattle, not rabble, not this mass that is simply going to be slaughtered for money. And so your Putin understood that, listen, why should he care about that? War allows him to usurp power 100%, which is what has already happened. That's it. Please, as many of you as you want as many as you want, they keep coming and coming and coming. You didn't watch our interviews before you came here, did you? You could have.
No, they block it.
Back then, you still could have. They hadn't blocked it yet.
If it's 2021, approximately.
2022, exactly. 2022 is the most active year for the release of our interviews, whatever they may be.
I just thought by end, if I had at least had a phone, maybe I would have seen
Therefore,
it.
it does not depend on anything. It is now, perhaps, that I can believe that nothing depends. Also, if they bring you back, it still depends. Because you will still have a choice. Either you will be locked
Yes,
up or you will be
there
sent
will be a
back to
choice.
war. Well, of course, they could execute you.
I've heard of this.
Yes, I don't know how it will be.